Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. All right, so just hearsay, rumor stuff, nothing quite concrete. Didn't read this anywhere official, but trust the sources. Usually they're right. So I bring you what I have. I hear the Lakers are talking to Victor Oladipo, or rather are interested. That's a better way of describing the truth. And Danilo Gallinari, who was just traded from Atlanta to San Antonio. I think a buyout is pretty much imminent in that situation. Keep an eye on Kimball Walker too. I think he actually fits what it is that we're trying to do. I know he's considered done, I guess you can say, but I think for his skill set, with him being a shoot first guard, all we really need him to do is step in and be a Lou Williams type of guy. He ain't got to play no defense. He ain't got to start. He ain't even got to think too much. Just come in and be yet another guard for us at a vet minimum price if that's what he would settle for at this stage in his career. I don't know what his options will be, but I'm guessing he's gonna have to, kind of take that kind of a role somewhere. So I think going for a championship contender is the way to go for Kimball Walker. He's put in a lot of years in Charlotte, obviously some years in Boston and now New York, but he's starting to get to a point where he's being traded around and stuff like that. So for him, I would just try to get with a contender, a good fit for for what it is that I do, and just huddle up on a bench somewhere and help a young guy somewhere. Find somebody who needs tutelage and try to ease your way into the culture of what it is that they do. Miami or something like that. I think that's a good spot, a good way for Kimball Walker to keep his career going. You turn into a player coach, point guard, helper. Because I can tell you, we got some young guys. Matter of fact, I think of a guy like, Christie, our guy Max Christie, who's an underdeveloped guy. Not underdeveloped, but, he came out early. If he would have stayed in school, probably would turn into a lottery pick in a couple years. He could use a guy like Kimball Walker to just kind of show him the ropes, maybe give him a little extra pointers, give him somebody to guard in practice, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. Because I really like that idea of giving a young defensive guard like that, somebody really, really talented. That's why another reason why I've been screaming about bringing in Kyrie, because I just want that type of gifted dribbling talent to give our guards as much trouble as possible in practice. And you get those young guys going up against guys that are going to tear them apart in practice at that guard spot. When they run into some of these guards that they're going to have to deal with, the LaMelo Balls, the Garlands, the DeJounte Murrays and Trae Youngs, they're going to already be up to par because they're going to be dealing with guys like that. So I just feel like that's a really, really, really good thing for us. So even though these guys that we're talking about are a bit over the hump, you know what I mean? I don't want to bring them all in like we did last year, but if we pick a few of them and add them to a group of young guys, I think we'll be happy we have that type of veteran leadership that LeBron James and Anthony Davis don't have to focus on being for our young guys. We want our superstars locked in and not trying to babysit. We want guys in place, including our coaches, of course, to do that job. You know what I'm saying? And if we can get it all on the same page, everybody focus on what it is that they're supposed to do, we will be in lockstep ready to overachieve. And that's all it's about at this point, especially if we can't get rid of Russell's contract. So that's what I'm thinking, man. Maybe Kimball Walker can kind of help us. And then, maybe grab one of those two other guys, Gallinari or the other player that we're referring to. So it's one of those situations where I'm excited about the Lakers. Otto Porter Jr., somebody we're looking at again. Josh Jackson's name was mentioned. I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to get a bag. Unfortunately, Malik Monk is going to be headed out. So the money that he would have taken will be left behind, probably like mid-level exception. Hopefully that goes to like Mo Bamba or something. And I haven't really given as much conversation to the idea of what Mo Bamba and AD look like in the front court together, because it's worth a lot of conversation. And we'll get to that if we're able to land Mo Bamba. But this is why I've wanted Mo Bamba on this team for a long time, because I look at that front court as something that gives us more rim protection than we even necessarily need to win. If we can get those two in the same lineup at the same time, we're going to be disruptive against all teams. All teams. So that's just a strength of what the length of those two players can potentially be. So that's very key for us. Hopefully we can get Mo Bamba, get him enriched in what it is that we do from a minimum not minimum standpoint, but a mid-level exception standpoint, with the intent of developing him into being somebody that we can keep for a little while, because that length is not something we're going to want to go away at the end of the season. Let me tell you, that mid-level exception, 2 years, whatever, we're going to want to re-sign that guy. Trust you me, that's imminent. So I think a lot of things you can just see coming down the pipeline, and needing size is most important. So hopefully the Los Angeles Lakers are getting a fast track on the guys that they're interested in getting, staying realistic, but also staying current in terms of not going after guys that are too old, but guys who can still help us. I think Gallinari would be an excellent addition to what it is that we do, specifically because he's just a reliable 6'10 guy, 6'8 guy who can put the ball on the floor, rebound the ball, and really just get you a bucket from here and there, especially when his conditioning is right. We know this dude, he's skilled. He's very skilled. He's very gifted. He's talented. He's not just somebody who's worked hard and that's it. No, there was natural ability there from jump. And that's why his career has lasted so long, because even now he can go out there and get you 15, 20 points. So that's all I'm asking him to do on key nights. Most nights I'm not going to expect him to play very much at this stage. But there's still something there. Last I checked, seeing a lot of late Atlanta Hawks last year and playoff Atlanta Hawks. Gallinari can still help you. He's got about a year, maybe 2 years left. So I think it would be a decent acquisition at a minimum price. So that's what I'm looking at, man. That's exactly what I'm looking at. I'm really curious to see what happens with Deandre Ayton if he gets moved today. I think the market for him is pretty much any team that wants to trade for him, honestly. And the reason why I say that is because it can be facilitated. It can be facilitated. That's why. It can be facilitated. I know I get annoying, but I don't think there's a team in the league that can't acquire Ayton if they include the Lakers' Russell Westbrook pick. I know, but I'm serious. That's the reality of the situation. You get that pick somewhere else, and we can facilitate you, Ayton. Simple as that. You find a way to get Russell Westbrook where he needs to go. Either Michael Jordan or Indiana or now the Spurs, because I think the Spurs should be interested in that thing. We can facilitate you, Ayton. we can get you him. So I know Rob Pelinka's probably on top of that, telling people that right now. So it is what it is. It's one of those situations where you just hope for the Lakers' sake that they are able to send Russell to a place other than where he is now, so we can use that cap space to get ourselves what it is that we're dreaming to have, which I believe is ultimately Kyrie Irving. I really do believe it's ultimately Kyrie Irving. I think the Nets are still going to let him go. Whether they let him go now or at the deadline, I think he ends the season with another team, and I think that other team is more than likely us, because I don't think anybody else is going to take the chance. I don't think nobody else is going to take the chance, but we'll see. We'll see. It depends on how he's playing. I always say if he's balling like a superstar and they're a contender by the trade deadline, they're not going to trade him. They're not. They would probably just keep it going for the sake to keep their season going, which is why I want the Lakers to get the fast track on this thing if possible, because even though he's an expiring contract, he's also going to be a key piece to a team that's probably trying to win right now. Now, KD could throw a monkey wrench in all of this and just decide he wants out right now, which I'm not ruling out. I'm not ruling that out, especially if they can't seem to get right with Kyrie and he knows Kyrie's going to be out anyway. His contract is for 4 years. He probably ain't going to want to even play this year with them. But that's just me speculating. I'm not in nobody's head. I don't know. But listening to what is being said around the league and what's being said and some of these places that I listen to, it sounds like the Nets situation, it's still the same as it was 3 days ago. The news to us may be something that settles people into thinking that the Lakers have to, kind of walk away from this, and other teams that may want him should kind of walk away. But I think it's pretty obvious that nothing has really changed. The only difference is he's opted in, and now it's in the Nets. It's within the Nets' right to either keep him or trade him. So, I think judging from what I've heard, trading him is probably still what they want to do, to be honest. It's just when and for what, and making sure they don't take back Russell, because they don't want that contract. They don't see the fruit in seeing that cap expire at the end of the season, because, of course, they have their own timeline to consider. So, yeah, hopefully they're figuring out what they got to figure out. Hopefully there's some communication there between KD and the Nets, and they can get something going, man. I personally, I don't know. maybe I'm just the wrong guy to talk to because I'm a Laker fan, but I really don't want the Nets to stay together. I don't. I don't think it's going to work this season. I think they're going to end up wanting to blow it up anyway. I don't think people are happy over there, and I think people are there trying to force something together for reasons that probably ain't going to help them win a championship. I really believe that. I've said it many times. I don't know if they should necessarily blow it up, but they do need to figure out what they do want to do. You know, because going forward with players that you consider to be headaches and guys trying to control your situation, if all of those allegations or those reports are true, that is a toxic situation for everybody, whether they see it that way or not. It's just, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for a very, very thin space to walk on. It's going to be walking on eggshells, walking on sandpaper. Not sandpaper, the other one. You know what I'm trying to say. It's going to be very, very fragile, and everybody's going to be on edge, waiting to see what happens next. Kyrie, if something goes wrong, maybe there's going to be somebody saying something. Maybe somebody needs to take a day off. It's going to create a certain energy, I feel. So hopefully they're able to weather that storm amongst themselves and come to a good end to this thing, I think. So that's what I'm hoping to see. Build around Ben Simmons. I can't stress it enough. Because if y'all don't, for his sake, I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know where he's going to fit. So if the Brooklyn Nets don't use what it is that they have to build around that player, I don't think we're going to see the best of Ben Simmons. I think he ends up becoming a player that gets tossed around in different situations, and they're going to try to turn him into Draymond Green everywhere he goes. That's what I see coming, because they're not going to know how to put the ball in his hands and trust that him not shooting the ball is going to be enough for them to win a championship, even though he's a genius passer and we'll figure it out. But I think that's ultimately what's going to get in the way. The Brooklyn Nets, I think, should build around him, and I think he needs them to, personally. So that's how I see it. And he posted something today looking like he was ready to go. You know, he was saying something along the lines of, you know, it was like like I say, anger in the emoji, but like the smoke coming out of the nose emoji, fired up emoji. That's what he posted, and you can see him. He just posted a picture of his face, no caption other than that. So, looking like he was grilling, like he's ready to get to work. So, if that message is to be taken seriously, I believe he's saying that he's ready to go, and that is the question that I've had about the Nets. That would determine how I would approach this season. That's why I kind of would play it the way the Nets are playing it. If I were them, I wouldn't necessarily have traded Kyrie or did anything just yet until we can reconvene together after that and then figure out where he is. From there, I can determine how best to play KD's timeline. And that's ultimately what the goal should be about. So if I'm to assume he's ready and he plans on starting the season 100%, he's going to be healthy, the back is good, then that changes everything. Now I can feel a little more confident in starting the season saying, okay, they have a big three. Now I'm letting me retool. But if he's not 100% and we don't see him playing more than 60 games this season, I don't like that fit for them. So that's what it's about, man. That's how I see it. Anyway, enough of the Nets, man. Keep an eye on the Clippers. I think the Clippers are going to be a wide range team to try to gauge, and I think whatever they do today will determine ultimately how good they're going to be. They already re-signed Zubats. They've obviously brought in John Wall. They have a bunch of good role players and young players together that can make things happen for them. I think the one thing I would want to see them do next is to provide themselves some John Wall insurance. Get yourself some John Wall insurance. Make sure you have a point guard who can kind of simulate what it is that he does for your team, facilitating the ball, because if he goes down, so goes your offensive continuity. And you'll be right back in the same boat you've always been, trying to figure out how to get everybody the ball. You need another facilitator. One more, maybe even two. So that's what I'm looking at for that team, and I'm also looking at the Clippers in regards to maybe getting a center. If they're not going to re-sign Hartenstein, if they're not going to re-sign our guy, then they're going to need to find another center to go along with what it is they have, unless they have a big one of the kids that they like on their bench that I may not be privy to. But that's what I'm saying. Pay attention to the Clippers, because a lot of people are telling you they're the best team since sliced bread or what have you, and I think that they have a core that, if healthy, could be really, really good. But I think if you're playing the percentages and you understand that you're not counting on them being healthy at all. So you're really counting on the depth of that team to carry them. And when I look at the depth, I like their guard play. I like their wing play. When I look at their bigs, I have my questions. So that's where they're going to have to upgrade. I would have loved to seen them move on from both Hartenstein and Zubac and try to land Ayton. That's the type of upgrade I'm talking about. Or try to trade for Vucevic in Chicago. I think that's a little bit of an upgrade for them, since he should probably be on the move from Chicago. But, that's the type of thing I'm looking at. I'm not necessarily taking on Gobert's contract per se, but they need to get themselves a center, or all of this is going to go flat. If they think they're going to start the season with Zubac as their only real center, they're going to find out they're not going to get far. They're not. That small ball stuff is going to work only to a point, and then you're going to find out you're relying a little too much on Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and John Wall to stay healthy. And that is key to all of this. Don't rely upon that. Don't. Make sure you don't have to. So that would be my suggestion to them. What else? Yeah, that's what's on my mind, man. Toronto I'm paying very close attention to because I know they are being a team that's mentioned for wanting to move on from OG Anunoby. I know that they, for whatever reason, don't see the fruit in paying him. Plus, they have a lot of players at that position. They are the wing stop. Basically, if you need a wing, Toronto got a bunch of them. So I'm looking at him. He's on the move. Watabe is an interesting player because of the needs for wings and centers and length. We know he's somebody who gets dunked on all the time, which is not a bad thing because that means he's contesting blocks. So that is a player I would definitely take a look at to fill out the back of my bench if I need a defensive-minded, role-playing big. He is somebody who I wouldn't hesitate to take a flyer on because he plays hard, man. He ain't afraid to get posterized. And people like that, you laugh at him, but most people getting out the way. He ain't. We will not. And so one of these days he's going to get a big block because of it. And so I think he's somebody to take a look at if Toronto doesn't bring him back, which I don't think they will. In fact, Boucher also is somebody you should take a look at. Don't pay attention to his numbers because his game isn't predicated on stats at all. In fact, sometimes he doesn't do anything at all statistically, but his length affects things a lot, and he can hit a corner three, get a couple of shots here and there. I'd like to see him be more aggressive scoring the ball so his stats can count. It would have helped him get more money in this situation here, but he was in a little bit of a logjam in Toronto, and ultimately he was just an excellent player that they could plug in to do things here and there in terms of having big games here and there. He can definitely do that. So I like his length. I think he may come at a discount because of it, and I think his upside is greater than what Toronto used him as, depending on the system he goes to, especially if they are in need of rim protection. So I would take a flyer on that player from Toronto, Boucher, because I don't think he's getting utilized properly up there, and you can get more out of him than they did. So that's what I think, depending on the situation. What else? So yeah, play attention to Toronto. I think they could be on the move. Maybe OG Anunoby for Ayton themselves. Maybe they get in the mix for Kyrie Irving, even though that sounds crazy. That's the type of thing they could do based on the fact that they have a max contract like on OG Anunoby to toss around. So I don't think Kyrie's going up there, but I'm just saying they can make a move like that if they want. So yeah, we're looking around at different teams. I've already mentioned Chicago. They're expected to sign Zach Levine today. I don't think they should. You guys know I kind of take a different approach to certain things. It's not that I don't think Zach Levine is somebody who should get that type of money, because he definitely should. It turns, for me, it turns into a situation of, do you have the role for what it is you're paying them for? The answer is absolutely not. They don't. They got about 5 rotational guards that he's going to be sharing time with. And last year we saw how that went. They had a surplus of guards when people were hurt. They couldn't get Ayo Dosunmu on the floor because of the fact they had so many people playing that position. You got Kobe White. You can't use him hardly because of that same issue. You got Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso are your best defensive guards. You probably need them on the floor probably for more than 29 minutes a game, 30 minutes a game. You need them on the floor. You got DeMar DeRozan, your MVP caliber player. You got the Ayo Dosunmu piece I was telling you about. You got Kobe White, as I've already mentioned. Right? God knows whatever else they got in the draft. I'm not certain. And there's probably some other players as well that I'm not even talking about in regards to that same position. And you're going to throw Zach Levine on top of that. Who's playing the 3 out of all of those guys? Besides DeMar DeRozan. Who's slipping up there? Is it Zach? Is it Caruso? Are you assuming Lonzo Ball is going to be hurt for the whole season so all this can make sense? I just look at Chicago and say, I like what y'all put together last year, but now you're about to max out Zach Levine when you have other needs. You need to turn Vucevic into a max center. Not paying him max money. I'm talking about taking him out of there and replacing him with Ayton. That's what y'all need to do. That'll fit a need. And then the Zach Levine piece, that 30 points that Zach Levine doesn't give you, guess what? It's being replaced by DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, of whom you should probably have on the floor more so anyway because they're better for your continuity and your offense than Zach Levine, who's only looking for his own shot. I saw it with my own eyes. He didn't really fit on your team. He didn't fit at all, actually. Good portion of the time I watched the Bulls, Zach Levine was a player I wanted to sit down so we could bring in the defensive mind of a Ayo Dosunmu or a defensive mind of a Alex Caruso and the facilitating mind of a Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso. Like, these are things he don't provide. He's a scorer. He's going to go out and get you 40 because he's going to have the ball in his hand to shoot 18 shots, and he's going to make most of them. But if he can't get in that type of rhythm because he's constantly sharing the ball with a bunch of facilitators who are getting the ball to each other, DeMar DeRozan's in the mid-range shooting all day long, where is Zach Levine getting his 40 points that can justify this contract? Unless you're going to start moving people around to make this make sense, that's not going to make you a better team. Again, he doesn't facilitate or defend. Those guys do. They're actually better for you than him. But I'm not going to tell you guys that because you already got your plan, Chicago, so you're going to see how it plays out, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It just doesn't work. And then you're going to look at Zach Levine's contract as a bad contract that you're going to want to move 2 years from now. Or DeMar DeRozan's. Or, that's just how this goes. So, yeah, is Zach Levine a great player to have at that price? Sure, if you got the role for him. If you can give him an offense, give him an offense. Like, put him in a role like Miami had with Tyler Hero. That's more of a role for him like that to where he don't have to worry about nothing else but scoring. To where he don't have to worry about doing all kinds of other stuff. He can just focus on getting 40 every night. That's what Zach Levine should be thinking about. And if he happens to get assists in those situations, if he happens to get extra boards in the situation, cool. But let him attempt his 7 shots and get his dunks off. That's it. This takes him out of rhythm. This has him sitting down every time a mistake is made. This has him sitting down when he gets 1 foul or 2 fouls in situations where otherwise he could play a little longer in most situations to keep his rhythm and have more of an impact on the game. You'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see. I can see it clear as day in my head. So, Chicago, we'll see how this plays out. As far as everything else, man, we are still awaiting, obviously, what we have going on here with the trade deadline many, many hours away, even though I keep looking at the clock like it's going to be soon because I'm that excited about it. But all in all, I'm poised for good news. Good news for my team, at least. Get us Mo Bamba, get us Otto Porter Jr., maybe make a trade, try to get something else. Start the process of not being left at the altar because that's what we usually have happen to us every single year on this day. We think big things are going to happen, and we end up either getting nothing or a big thing that happens. It's the biggest news in the world. So I'd like something in between that. Just let us get some good role players. Let us land some people that maybe we're not expected to get. And let's start this season off on a much better note. So that's what I got to say as a Laker fan. I thank you all for watching. My name is BDL44, and I'm out.